Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another developer vlog, actually. Still feels odd not saying magic video, but welcome to another developer vlog for Dice with Death. Now, I'm doing this one not with any specific topic in mind, other than the fact that when I posted the first one, when we went to early access, I said that I would do one in like a week or two's time, just kind of talking about, how early access launch has been and some lessons learned from it, because I think one of the things that and I spoke about this in the previous vlog, which you can go check out if you haven't, but one of the things that I really do believe in is if you're going to do this early access thing and you're essentially asking people to kind of buy into your finished vision, I think the least that you can do is communicate that and kind of give them some insight into your process and what's going on, because I think some games do that extremely well, and that's definitely kind of the stuff that I like to see. I think that's a very cool process, and I think it actually results in a better game than completely closing yourself off and just being Gibby money pliazi and kind of disappearing for 2 years. But anyway, I want to talk today about some of the lessons that I've learned doing the early access launch, because definitely didn't do everything right. I think a lot went right, which was amazing. By the way, yes, I am wearing a hat. I don't know if I've ever wore a hat in a video before, but my hair is an absolute mess. So sorry about the hat. But anyway, we didn't do everything right, for sure. I think that we did a lot of things right, and hopefully maybe if you're a fellow developer or something that stumbled on this video, you'll be able to take something from that. But I think even more useful maybe will be taking the things that I go into that we didn't do right, because some of that definitely had some very, very, very important lessons in there. Thankfully, most of that stuff, I think, is corrected, but we'll see. Yeah, just before we get into it, if you have got the game already in early access, I just want to extend a thanks to you once again. You have no idea how appreciative I truly am. And also, if you do have the game already, go leave us a review on Steam. That's the main thing Steam cares about, is how many reviews you get. Even a GG and a thumbs up on there really does help more than you can imagine. So yeah, please do if you already have the game in early access. And if you don't have the game in early access, don't worry, that's absolutely fine. I hope that you follow it along, add it to your wish list, and hopefully you give it a shot in the future and you enjoy it. But anyway, the early access launch, how did we do? Well, obviously for business reasons, I'm not going to go into the exact numbers of sales and stuff, just because that's sensible not to do right now. But if we ever talk to publishers and stuff down the line, but I will say that you guys might remember before we went into early access, I kind of said the plan was to get maybe a few hundred people playing and kind of working on the game with us in a sense, giving us their feedback, giving us their bug reports and whatnot. Yeah, we vastly exceeded that. It did very, very well. We've had a good influx of interest, which is awesome. My big goal was, by the way, I'm recording this, the game's been out for 10 days in early access, so just to give you, so I thought that was a good point to kind of measure things against and my expectations and what happened and give you some insight there. So my goal was that I wanted to get about 20 to 25 reviews in the first 10 days. I was that's the goal. Obviously, exceeding that is great. If we didn't meet that, it's okay. There's things that you can always do things to adjust. There's so few things that you can make as a mistake and not course correct, I believe. But that was the goal. I was okay, I know that just being realistic with myself, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed if we don't get to that 25 review mark in the first 10 days. As of recording this, I think we have 68 reviews. 2 of them were friends that I gifted the game to. And when you gift the game, actually, accurately, I gifted the game to one, then he liked it and gifted the game to another, which is cool. But when you gift the game, it doesn't count towards the review total. So that's why if you go look at our reviews, it'll say as of recording this, it'll say 65 reviews or whatever. But if you actually click into it, there's 67. It's because those 2 that are gifted don't count. So you can't gift the game out and inflate your review score that way. I can't give everybody watching this a copy of the game and say, hey, go upvote it and cheat Steam. Doesn't work like that. It only counts the reviews of people who are not linked to you in that sense. So yeah, 65 reviews from non-gifted people, which is incredible. The big milestone there, and we did notice an impact of this. Well, actually, here's the first insight thing. There's two milestones that we've noticed so far when it comes to your amount of reviews. One of them was much, much bigger than the other, and I'll go into why that is, but they definitely both had a slightly noticeable impact. The second one did. So, milestone number 1, and sorry, this is going to be like a very stream of consciousness video, but I don't want to like over-edit it or anything. So, milestone number 1 was 10 reviews. We hit 10 reviews, and immediately it was like Steam recognized we weren't like, you know, a spam game, because you do get a lot of like, you know, student projects or just like test projects or just spam uploaded onto Steam, right? Right? So as soon as we hit 10 reviews, it was like a light switch got flicked. Like, you know, those 10 reviews, we were like getting in touch with people we knew bought the game. Obviously, you know, I'm very lucky and Joel's very lucky that we had a bit of a following, even though I've been irrelevant for many years by now. You know, like had a little bit of a following on Twitter and stuff. So, you know, we really relied on those initial sales from like people who've been around for a long time to get us to that 10 review mark. Because I'd heard about this, I'd studied it, and it turned out to be true. Once we hit 10 reviews, it was like a light switch turned on. It was absolutely crazy. So, just to give you some context, sorry, the music will drop out for a second. I'm just going to tab to my Steamworks, which is the back end for Steam. And I'm going to give you guys the exact numbers because I think that this is well worth highlighting for people who might be getting into this or just if you're curious. Okay, we launched late during the day on May the 7th, right? We then got 10 reviews around the morning of May the 8th, and our discovery queue, which is kind of like, you know, when you click on Steam and it's like, hey, you might like this game. That's like the discovery queue thing. It jumped from 718 to 21,000 for the rest of May the 8th. So, as you can see, hitting 10 reviews was like, yeah, light switches on. Steam is like, this is a real game, let's show it to some people. And then what happens is they show it to an enormous amount of people, and it slowly trickles down because, you know, it like refines its audiences. And that was another interesting thing, and kind of like the second insight that I learned, I guess, was Steam doesn't treat every day equally in terms of who it shows your game to. So, for instance, actually, yesterday is a great example. Yesterday, we sold less copies than... sorry, I'm recording this on a Sunday. So, we sold less copies than Friday. However, we had no refunds. And by the way, the average, again, insight you might not know, the average refund rate for a game on Steam, obviously it changes as more and more people become aware of the refund feature, so it gradually creeps up over time. But on all of Steam, from what I can tell, the average is about between a sort of like 10 to 12% refund rate. The average for early access is more about 14%, because of course people will buy the game. You know, they'll use their 2 hours of playtime before a refund as a like a demo, or just to see the game now. And then some of them will just refund it and buy it again when it comes out. It's kind of a smart thing to do, to be completely honest. I think that's completely fair to do. You should use that 2 hour window as like a demo, essentially. Like that's consumer rights are like so important. You can tell that we're an indie studio when we say that, but consumer rights are like so important, and you should use that time as like a demo. And yeah, come back in the future if you don't think it's there yet. So based on that, you know, we sold, it was about 20% less copies, but 0 refunds. Whereas the day that we sold 20% more, we'd had like 5 or 6 refunds, I think, which was higher than average. And what that tells me is on the Friday, Steam was experimenting with who to show our game to. We had slightly higher impressions, slightly higher visits, and that means that, you know, Steam was looking outside of like our audience so far, showing the game to people, and they were just naturally having a lower retention rate, a lower rate of interest when they actually played it, because it wasn't something that they would necessarily inherently play. Which is cool. Like, I love that it does that. I love that it kind of like shows your game to different groups. I see a lot of people get very upset about refunds, and I do understand why. Like, you know, there's an inherent sort of like, oh, somebody played the game and they didn't want to in the end. But I more view that as like, look, somebody saw your game and thought it was interesting enough to give it a go. We don't all like everything that we try. Not everything is suited to you. And actually, I personally believe, and this is getting into my weird beliefs, but like, I personally believe the more people you try to appeal to, or the more different groups of people you try to appeal to, the less your product, or like the less product's a weird word, but like it is that ultimately. Like the less your product will appeal to your actual core audience, right? You see this a lot in some films and games and stuff where they try to cast their net very, very wide, and it ends up being very shallow because they're not actually like building into those genres enough. So I think it's cool though. Like I don't really get offended at refunds, I guess, because I think it's just like, hey, look, thanks for trying the game. You know, like it's cool that somebody saw it. It was outside their usual wheelhouse and they gave it a shot anyway. It's cool. So yeah, interesting that day by day Steam does treat your game differently. Generally, from that big spike on 10 reviews, it trickles down slowly, just as, you know, it refines who it's showing it to, and it kind of like does it in waves anyway. So yeah, it's been really interesting to see. And one thing that was curious is we kind of hit the lowest impressions, yeah, around like Wednesday during this previous week, and then it's actually gone slightly up since then daily, except yesterday, which was slightly below Friday. But like I say, the actual sales rate on non-refunds was much better. So yeah, just don't panic if your game seems to suddenly crash in impressions and stuff. Like that's very natural, as Steam is like doing it in spikes as it like refines its algorithm with who to show it to. So don't worry so much day on day, I think, is the lesson that I learned from that. But if you are curious about like the data and about tracking what Steam's actually doing, you can build up some good impressions as long as you look across the board and kind of like correlate your sales rate, your refund rate with your impressions rate. And stuff like that, and see where your impressions are coming from as well. The discovery queue, by far and away, is like 90% of our impressions, if not more, most days. Like, you know, if I post a video or like a tweet or something, obviously like external will go up a bit, but generally speaking, that's actually a good, okay, I'll put it this way. This is a good insight if you're curious about doing this, or yeah, you just want to know about it. Steam does the heavy lifting. That's what I've learned. Like, obviously, going viral is great. You know, if you have like some huge Twitch streamer or YouTuber post a video, you're going to see the impressions. That's fantastic. But that's like a edge case level of like external activity, right? You know, if you have somebody, I don't watch Twitch anymore really, but who's like a huge streamer. If you have like an Asmongold or something play your game, you know, that's like a lot of people seeing it, and a lot of people are going to come into it and have a look at least, right? So you will notice that in a huge way. Not so much talking about that, I'm more talking about like baseline external activity, like if you're running low-level digital marketing, or if you're just running your own social medias and stuff. That stuff is great, and I think it's very good for other reasons, like brand awareness and communicating with people. But in terms of like actual Steam store traffic, Steam does the heavy lifting. And what you have to do is you have to make sure that first and foremost, you're acting in a way that is going to make that algorithm like you. And that's why I say things like, yeah, if you haven't already, I will openly just say, please do review the game. I'm not saying go AstroTurf it. Please give us an honest review if you want. Like, please do. Like, but that engagement rate, like people posting in the discussions, people posting on the reviews, has been very noticeable. The second milestone that I completely went on a tangent from, but the second review milestone that we did notice was 50 reviews. Now, 50 reviews has a very big, I like to think of there's like two different types of impacts, right? There's algorithmic impacts, which is like how many people is Steam going to show your game to, or like who is Steam going to show your game to? And then there's sort of like psychological impact, which is like how are the people that look at your game going to view it, right? Because ultimately, let's just talk about pure money, right? You will make more money from 10 people seeing your game and wanting to buy it than a million people who have no interest, right? This one feels better when you look at the analytics, but this one feels better when you actually look at how you're performing. And the thing that we noticed on 50 reviews, well, there's one very important feature that turns on. If you've ever looked at a game and its score is just positive, mixed, or like negative, I think it can say, that means it's got less than 50 reviews. As soon as you hit 50 reviews, that's when it goes to, you can have things like, you know, mostly positive, mostly negative. It adds more broken down quality reviews to it. So we were very fortunate and very flattered that we have a very positive review score, right? So as of writing this, I think we're like 89% positive from like, yeah, 65 reviews, which is, when you consider that this is the, hopefully, touch wood, this is the worst the game will ever be, because of it being like, you know, we're in week 2 of early access, right? Theoretically, this is the worst the game will ever be. So for it to have a very positive rating is incredible. Like, I was like, again, being honest with myself, I was hoping for 70% positive. So to sit at like, and flirting with like going above 90 and sitting around there is just like awesome. The next big review milestone in terms of what displays is when you hit 500, which if we ever hit that, I'll be pretty happy. But 500 reviews is where you get the, I think you unlock overwhelmingly positive, but it has to be like 95 or 94% positive, I believe. So yeah, 500 is the next one. But I also have heard and believe that something gets ticked as to being like a popular game around like 100 to 120 reviews. So yeah, 100 is the next big milestone. So if you do take a second to review the game and help us get there, I very much so appreciate you. Thank you so much. And let me know, and I will give your comment a thumbs up, and isn't that all of the karma that you need? Anyway, no, thank you if you do take the time to do it. Because yeah, I want to see what happens with 100 reviews. I know that we will get there in time, but yeah, I'm just very curious, and I want to see how we do. But if you do review it, I want to stress this again. Don't do like empty reviews. And if you just want to say this is great and you actually think it's great, fantastic. But please don't like just do a nice review because I ask. Give us an honest review. It's much more valuable to not only us in terms of developing the game, but also to anybody looking at the page. They will see your honest impressions, and that's very important. So that's the review stuff, I think, and that was really like the main thing we learned. The second thing was actually to do with like the launch of the game itself. So I swear I should just play the game, really. Shocking. Developer plays his own game. On live as well. Even rarer. But, yeah, the other thing was to do with launching the game itself, right? So one thing that we learned, and this is a good example, one thing that we learned was you definitely go blind. And I spoke about this a little bit before. I knew it would happen. But, I mean, I guess the very nature of going blind to problems is you have gone blind to them and you don't know that they're there. So I think one of the key focuses, other than fixing bugs in the game, which shout out to Joel, he's done the majority of that and he's done a very good job on it. But the key focus for me was seeing sticking points, right? And I don't mean one person being like, I think Coral Ring sucks. Not that anyone would say that. Coral Ring is great. But not so much that. Sticking points are more like, look at what as many people as you can, ask people, but more importantly, look at what people are volunteering as information and see the common trends of where they're getting stuck. And one of the things that we immediately saw was the unlock system had a very obvious problem with it that we had just gone blind to from just making it and playing it and testing it for, you know, not to be oh poor me, but like 12 hours a day, a lot of days, right? So like what happens was when you unlock something, Death will talk to you and he will you know, tell you a little story about who it's from. You might have like some multiple choice answers. In the future, there's going to be ones that actually impact your current run based on those answers. So, you know, he'll ask you about things that aren't relic unlocks and you can actually modify your run. We're working on that at the moment, but yeah, it's always been in the plan, but I think it's going to be really fun when it goes in, so I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, he would offer you an unlock, tell you a little story, talk to you, whatever, and then he would give you the relic, and you'd continue your run. Now, you know, in testing and on paper, this was cool, and people really like the death dialogue, so we get a lot of positive reception on that, and that's what I was mentally focused on when designing the system. I was like, I think people are really going to like talking to Death, and they do, which is great, and thank you to all the kind words about that. However, not having a choice of what relic you get is often very annoying. So, you know, it was the most common bit of feedback in terms of the gameplay loop that we got was, I like the unlocks, I wish that I didn't have to take them. So now, and unfortunately we won't see it here because of course I have like everything. I might have reset my save, I don't think I did though. I have everything unlocked on my account, obviously from playing, but yeah, basically, I'm going to take Pomander actually, Pomander's cool. I don't really have a way to Pomander round 1 isn't very good. I can heal with the Cauldron. We'll be fine. So, oh, Sal, there you go. Good boy. All right, so, yeah, we're doing healing. Healing healer. Who would have thought? But, Yeah, so now you get a choice. Death will do an unlock for you. You will unlock the relic either way. However, you will have two options. You'll have, like, you know, unlock and take this relic. And then you will have, like, unlock but choose a different relic. So that's what I mean by, like, don't be precious about your designs. Am I going to roll again? Pomander is so overpowered. It's so good. So yeah, don't be precious about your designs. Like, identify people's sticking points and fix them. I think that was the main one, really. The main one was the relic unlocks. Also, deaths. When death could perfect bank, anyone who played on day... Oh, it's only been 10 days, but because we've been so busy working on the game every day, it feels like it's been 2 months. It really does. It's crazy. I can't even remember when we changed perfect banking. I think it was like day 2, because it was just so crazy. Anyone who played day 1 or 2 and played the game while death could perfect bank, you guys are like you're like the grizzled veterans of the game if you survive death perfect banking. But yeah, optimization was the other big one. So we had some people, especially on higher end hardware, which makes sense. Some people, well, there's two things that happened with hardware, right? I don't actually like doing that. I might just bank a pair. Yeah, we had two types of people posting about optimization, right? People who were on lower end, we had one guy, and I'm not like, you know, calling him out, but I did just think it was pretty surprising. We had, I need to fix the hitbox. The hitbox on this will be fixed very shortly, sorry, but you get people on very low end hardware. So we had one dude who was like on a Lenovo Yoga tablet that was like, I think it was like 9 years old, and it had like at the time, like a low-end integrated graphics. It was basically a 9-year-old Android tablet, essentially. Not Android, but Windows OS tablet. And that was interesting. I just had to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I think this, it might be time to get off the Lenovo Yoga. But all in all, optimization stuff largely actually came from people with higher-end hardware. The answer was very simple. We didn't. So basically, if you go in the settings, right, this will look prettier soon. We actually have I should show it at some point, but we have like a really nice settings menu that we'll put in soon. This is just the placeholder one. But there's an FPS limit, right? So 30, 60, 120 or unlimited. I wasn't naturally putting people on 60. And so some people were running it on like, I have a 4080, right? And there was a dude with like a 5070 or something, whatever like the latest ones are. I think it was a 5070 or something. And they were like, why does this like max my GPU? And I realized, one, a lot of people don't understand how GPU utilization works, where like actually 90 to 100% isn't a bad thing. It's more like the temperatures and if it's straining it. It runs at like 30% on mine because I've capped the frame rate. But yeah, what had happened is they didn't have a capped frame rate. They were rendering the game at like 300 frames a second. And obviously that's going to put a little bit of strain on your GPU, right? So yeah, I realized setting a natural frame limit is a good thing. Steam Deck was a very interesting one. Any developers out there who are still listening to me ramble and are interested in putting their game on Steam Deck, there's definitely some very good resources and very good like things that you can do. We found that like it was surprising because they have an RDNA graphical structure. Things like TSR, which is temporal super resolution, works very well on them. So like if a little bit of tech insight, I guess. If you play the game on a Steam Deck, which, by the way, now I've locked it to 40 FPS on mine, and it's like you get about 4 to 4.5 hours playtime. It doesn't get the fans over like 2,300, I think I saw mine on. And I have the OLED Steam Deck as well, which I think runs a bit hotter. I might be wrong on that, though. I don't use it a huge amount. But yeah, generally speaking, Steam Deck was very interesting. It's very worth optimizing properly on there. Although it is a little challenging. There's some things that you wouldn't expect. But yeah, temporal super resolution. I know it can be strenuous on some PC instances. It's not too bad for us because, you know, we don't have a very complex scene. But, you know, if you're running it on, like, Stalker, I think, had a big problem with it. Come on, how are we going to finish Death off? We're not rolling very much damage, are we? I probably missed, like, a million rolls, so I've been talking, but... oh my goodness, of course. But, yeah. Temporal super resolution for Steam Deck, that's a good tip. We run the game at actually, like, 80% resolution, and then just, like, upscale it on Steam Deck, and yeah, I mean, I haven't seen mine go off 40 FPS since we did the latest optimization pass, and it seems to run very nicely on there now as well. One of the challenges was definitely controller support. So I can actually play the game on controller. I can show you it at the moment. You'll see controller glyphs. I've got an Xbox controller here. If I just plug it back in, because for some reason my Xbox controller is never naturally on. I always have to plug it in and out just to get it work. Yeah, so like you can see that actually I can play the game on controller. So like you see controller glyphs appear. I'm just cycling through right there. You can also, of course, this is set up for Steam Deck really, right? But you can run the game just with the trackpad, because of course it's a mouse game, really, which is cool. But if you do want to, or you have accessibility needs, then we did set it up so you can play the game now with a controller. So you'll see I've got like R1 to bank my full house there. Yeah, there is a bug at the moment where it might bank double damage. I know exactly. That only happens on PC with the gamepad, and I actually know what's doing that. It's if you press the button too quickly, you can call the function twice, which is kind of fun. So if you want to cheat, you have about probably 24 hours until I fix that. So yeah, if you want to cheat right now, Xbox controller on PC, there you go. There's a little tip for you. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like it works nicely. Getting this to work was a bit of a nightmare because, of course, one of the things, and we spoke about this really early, right? One of the things that we knew that we wanted to do was physically roll the dice. So that means that, we're not cheating the dice roll. It is real. See if this banks double. Please do. Oh, no, okay. I didn't press it. You have to really, like, tap the button really quick. But, yeah, one of the things that we knew that we always wanted to do, right, was go back to mouse and keyboard. It's much easier. So I'm a mouse and keyboard boy, really. But we wanted to physically roll the dice. That's always been a thing. Day one, we were like, look, we're not faking the dice roll. We're not putting little 2D dice on the screen. We're not, like, seeding a dice outcome and then rolling the dice to match it. No, you roll the dice. The one thing, and some players, when they get unlucky, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but I always find it funny, because it's like, if you don't know, I used to play card games a lot on the channel and stuff, and everybody's guilty of it. You're like, oh, the game's rigged. It's giving me bad cards. Oh, it's giving me more lands than I need to make me lose because I've won too much. And some people accuse us of being like, oh, did we just roll a 6 straight? Look at that. 6 straight. Lovely. It's going to make the cauldron nice. Oh, I wish if that was turn 1 and I had my Pomander, that would have been crazy points. But, yeah, so we get accused of like, oh, I wish that the dice roll was legit. The one thing that I will say verbatim on court record is the dice roll in our game is 100% real. And that does cause problems, and it makes it harder to do than faking it, which you might find surprising. But when we're activating all sorts of stuff based on, wow, we just rolled a 2-3 of a kind. We just rolled like 2 of the rarest hands back to back. Wow, channel veterans, I guess drop a dice is easy, just roll what you want in the comments. Look at that. Not bad. All right, so this is a crazy set. We're gonna like 1 round. We nearly did it again. Okay, I'm like trying to promise you that the dice roll is real as the developer of this game, while I just roll incredibly broken hands. So yeah, this isn't really working for my validity. We can. He's actually gonna. Wow, we just like 1-rounded him almost. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, not that that was the most convincing turn for this point, but yes, the dice roll is completely real. It does make certain things more difficult. Controller input is one of them, because of course normally when you want to focus on a selectable thing using a D-pad, you just put a little button on it, right? And that's what we do. However, how that would work in a normal game is you would then use the D-pad to go around a little grid of buttons on the screen. Well, all of our buttons move every time you press the roll button because they all fly around the screen. So yeah, we have to like remap the navigation after you roll on controller. That's why the first time you use your controller, you have to press A twice. The first A actually just builds the navigation for that. There's a little... That is technically a bug. It will be fixed in the future. We'll automatically fire it, but that is why you have to do that for it to work. And that was a challenge, getting that to work. I've never, like, I will openly admit, I've worked on, multiple games in the past. I've shipped things. I have never worked on a controller game. So learning that has been a big part of what I've been doing the last week or two. But of course, not just for like, Steam Deck's a great market for us. Also, I'm fully aware, I used to do things like special effects and extra life and stuff like that. controllers are really important for, like, everyone being able to play. You know, like, we're very lucky I can play using a mouse with one hand. Not everyone can use a mouse. So a lot of people want, like, custom-mapped controllers. Well, now the game works with a D-pad and just the A button and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was a big part of wanting to get that working as soon as possible, too. So, that's kind of how the early access launch has been, I guess. Oh my goodness. Inner Sears ingot is like the biggest meme. It is good for rolling ones with that coral ring, though. Oh, that should be in front of the dice. There you go. We just discovered a bug. We changed how these load for controller support, and it looks like they go in front of the tooltips now, which is cool. But, yeah, Inner Sears ingot is a giant meme because it can multiply the value by 0. And a lot of people find out what happens when you multiply something by 0. Draupnir, no, we don't have any. Sergeant's Dice. Sergeant's Dice is like my favorite dice generally, just because it's so reliably strong, but it's not really good for us because we just took Coral Ring. Treasure Cube is pretty good. Take Treasure Cube. Alright. If you've just got the game, you won't get Treasure Cube for a little bit, but it's a good boy. Alrighty. So yeah, rolling dice physically. My insight there is don't do it. Oh, 3 ones. Let's go. Coral Ring. Oh! Oh! Immediate diamond ring off the treasure cube. And people put bug reports saying treasure cube doesn't do anything. It does do something, you just have to be the developer and be cheating. That's a joke. I promise I'm not cheating. I don't really want to bank a treasure cube on a 1, but we'll do it anyway. We'll just do a pair. This is going to be like greedy mode. Yeah, let's go for that. Oh, we got away with it. Alright, so... Sorry, I'm just kind of playing the game now. Game is fun. That's a cool thing. I've worked on this game for thousands of hours. And, maybe not thousands, I guess. How long? Probably close to it. And, I still do enjoy playing it, which is fun. Rolling dice is fundamentally satisfying. That's what the core design tenet of the game was. I was like, rolling dice and seeing what you got is really fun. Let's make a game out of that. And so that's kind of what the impetus for the game was. But yeah, I think that's just about everything from early access, really. Just wanted to give you guys some insights into like how it's been, things that we learned. Optimize your game, definitely maybe number 1. Number 2, get 10 reviews as fast as you can. Like, ask your mum to buy the game and review it. I don't care. If you're a developer listening to this, 10 reviews as fast as you can, trust me. You want that. You want that Steam realizing you're a real game thing. It's pretty good. Listen to your players. Don't get bogged down in one person's feedback. Identify, like, common... I mean, look, sometimes people give individual feedback and they have fantastic ideas and points. But, don't get too bogged down in singular bits of feedback. Identify, like, common trends and, most importantly, sticking points. Like, you know, us fixing the unlock system, I think, was a big deal. But yeah, like... It's been really interesting. It's been very intense. Like I say, it's 10 days. It feels like it's been a month and a half at least. Respond to your players. I think, like, you know, if people take their time to, even if it's like, hey, this game sucks and here's why, they're still spending their time and energy on, like, talking about something that you've made. And, you know, obviously, yeah, if it's just straight up, you know, disinformation or abuse, then ignore it. But, like, most of the time it will warrant a response. Like, there might be something there that you can help explain, or you can, like, understand that, oh, this wasn't obvious to this person. And that doesn't mean that they're an idiot. Don't get me wrong, in rare instances it can, but it doesn't necessitate that they're an idiot. It might be that how you are putting that information forward in your game could be clearer, you know? So just be open to, like, that idea that maybe... Not even maybe. Definitely, you know, I know the things we work on and the things we care about are our babies, but, like, you know, you are blind to your kids' flaws, right? So, yeah, just try and be as open as you can with what people are telling you. Try not to get too defensive. If you feel yourself getting defensive, just come back an hour later and then respond. Like, it's okay. Like, you know, we're all human. That goes to players too. Like, you know, especially indie developers, like... Please be nice to me. That's my final point. I promise I'm not putting bugs in the game to make you angry. I understand if it does when you're in the middle of a run. No, I'm actually. Do you know what? I say that, but actually, we've only had 1 or 2 people like send us anything that I wouldn't regard as very nice messages. So, yeah, I guess that's it for now. But I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update, show you how the game's coming if you're just following it along on here. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I say, if you haven't already and you own the game, go leave us a review. I'd love to read your thoughts. And yeah, like, comment the video, blah, 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 whatever. Send the game to your friends. Send the game to your local news station. Send the game to your local politician. I don't know. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. I will do another vlog. What is this? This is the 18th of May. I will most likely do one somewhere early to middle of June, depending on what we add. If we add a big feature before then, there are a couple of fairly big features coming, but they might be more like patch nodey things. Hopefully next month I'll get to show you guys the 3rd playable character as well. Yeah, it'll be a couple of weeks at least, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it if you made it all the way through this rambly video. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.